That's a weird angle. Now you can actually see down into Grammy Boy territory. I was trying to get lower. I don't like seeing, all the junk up there, but I think my live stream is doing what it did a couple weeks ago, where it's not showing me chat. So we get to do the exciting thing. We get to do the exciting thing of opening up chat in another window. And then I get to watch myself delayed. Yep. Uh-huh. All right. What's up, Hubie? Squad. What I might do is, maybe I'll bring up this window, make it small next to the window that's actually showing chat. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Friday night jams. The Crow is here. Gremmy's here. He's a little mad at me because I took out his bed to clean it, and he didn't like that. And then when I put it back in there, he gave me the cold shoulder, and he almost didn't come out to eat for lunch, but he did, or for breakfast rather. I've missed so many streams since the new job, but hey, now I'm here for this one. Well, thank you, Alyssa. I think this is going to be another slow jam stream. I mean, I've got some updates, but I also just want to answer questions. Got some annoying things to talk about. Got some good things to talk about. And have some more creature updates, pictures I can show. What else? I watched a movie I actually kind of liked that a lot of other people are liking, so I feel, it's kind of weird. I did a rewrite over the weekend to better fit the script to the location. Yeah, confirmed more cast, but I think we had an angle on everybody last week. I don't think this is like bothering me today for some reason. I wear it because when I hike, I still every once in a while, hey Greg, I still every once in a while bring it up in case like people are wearing masks outside, but I'm like, it's bothering me today. I'm reading the George Lucas biography, which is interesting. It wasn't interesting in the beginning, but now it's getting interesting. I watched Extraordinary. I got weird feelings on Extraordinary. One is that there's a character named Vincent Dooley in it, which is my character from The Mother of Invention. I doubt they've ever seen it because no one has. But it just turned me off to the movie right away. And I also don't really connect with that style of comedy. Not to sound like a dick at the top of stream. But, there's that style of comedy that's just kind of undercutting what should be consequence. It's that kind of Taika Waititi flow too, where there's not real jokes. The joke is just the nonchalant reaction to what we're normally used to seeing as severe. And I just think that's easy. It doesn't work for me. I'm going to start my live stream by bad-mouthing one of the biggest, most successful horror comedy directors of all time, Taika Waititi. But so Extraordinary kind of had a similar vibe where it was just like, I see ghosts. They're okay. I guess ghosts are fine. Sometimes they're a little scary, but I guess ghosts can also be your friend. I don't know. I just like that kind of comedy makes me feel like I'm being buried alive. Why don't we just fucking rag on everything at the top of stream? That makes me look like a well-balanced, positive person. Checking out 1994 on Netflix. If you're talking about Fear Street, that's the movie I watched that I actually kind of enjoyed. I didn't love like a lot of people, but I kind of enjoyed it. Tim and Eric, I get it, and I actually like $1 billion movie, but I'm not a big, anti-comedy guy. I sound like such a fucking idiot. Unsuccessful filmmaker from his garage criticizes more successful comedy people. Why don't we talk about Bo Burnham again? But it's just my opinion. I don't love. I just think. I think comedy is. It's very specific, and I think it. We all have our sense of humor, and we have what makes us laugh. And I get the Tim and Eric flow, but it doesn't connect with me. It doesn't hit for me. I kind of watch it like this. No, I know. Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? It doesn't go over my head. It doesn't. I don't connect to it the way like that. It makes me a boomer. I don't connect to Eric Andre. I'm a little like Mark Maron in that sense. Maybe I am a boomer. That stuff doesn't hit for him. So, God, never mind. I'll stop. You can imagine what I don't like. If I don't respond to Eric Andre and Tim and Eric, put everything else in that bucket that is in that bucket, and I don't respond to it. Tyler, I'm not self-deprecating. I think arguably I am criticizing people more successful than me. That's me being a realist, not me being self-deprecating. That is the truth. I am criticizing people more successful than me. That's just the truth. That's what's happening. I'm not going to act like I'm as successful as them. Mighty Boosh, however, that's my shit. And why is that? Why is Mighty Boosh my shit? Why is Mighty Boosh my shit? And then why does a lot of anti-comedy not hit for me? Gosh, I mean, there's definitely some Mighty Boosh that's pushing it for me. I don't think it's enough to just like write a silly song that shouldn't be about a subject matter that it is about, but some of their characterizations and some of their big swings, I just I connect to, I guess it's because it gets a little more into the kind of like Pee Wee Herman, Tim Burton-y heightened surrealism. And so I'm a sucker for that, maybe. I did watch Werewolves Within. I don't know if I have a take on it right now. I'm still thinking about it, and a lot of stuff I liked about it. A lot of things I was confused by, but I don't know. I don't have as clear of a take on that. Well, let's put it this way. I think my take on that would be spoiler heavy, and I don't think I should do that. Whitest Kids You Know, no. I went to school with those guys. They're all really nice. They were always really nice to me. They actually asked me to do a Whitest Kids You Know show in college, and I didn't do it, and I don't remember why. My shit, What We Do in the Shadows doesn't kick with me. I'm a fucking bummer. I'm sorry. Because I think they get stuck in that rut too of just the undercutting of the thing being the joke, I mean, but here's the thing. Matt Berry fucked the world. And that's what's so frustrating for me, because he's my king. He's my actual God. So I can't compute not being into What We Do in the Shadows. I can't compute it. I mean, I sit there and I watch my king, my God, my Lord talk. And I mean, I will find the one episode of the one series, a guest star on a series. And if Matt Berry's in it, I find that episode on Daily Motion and I watch it. And I'm like, got it. Got a little bit more Matt Berry in my head. Cool. I mean, and then I'm given a show that's horror comedy with my God, my Lord front and center, and it doesn't work for me. What? I can't compute it. I can't compute it. I did like, I fucking wild, but the Vampire Council episode, dude, the second Paul Rubens starts talking, it's like all of the sudden there's this fucking sharp comedic timing. And you're like, motherfuck, who's that? Oh, it's Paul Rubens, comedy legend. So something missing in the tightness of it. I think I like things. Somebody criticized my music once for being too urgent. And I realized that that's in everything I do. There's this tightness and this urgency and there's this quickness. And I don't respond to the comedy that is the kind of like, well, we're just talking, long pause and then cut. Oh, is this uncomfortable for you? Looking to camera, looking away, cut. It's wild. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is my sweet cream dream. Pour it in a glass, make a White Russian out of it for me. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is my sweet, sweet heaven. Right. Year of the Rabbit and Toast of London, those both give me more Barry, straight shot of Barry. Did I actually grow my hair out? Yeah, but I'm so balding on top. Like I can show you my widow's peak. I don't want to like take off my hat fully because I'm still too insecure about how much I'm losing my hair. But at the same time, I've been losing my hair since I was 25. So you'd think I'd be not insecure about it anymore, but I'm not. Bill and Ted Face the Music kind of freaked me out a little bit because I was told it was so good and hit the mark and did everything the old movies did. And then I felt like it didn't. You feel crazy sometimes, with what you like and don't like, because somebody will recommend a film to me and be like, hey, dude, if you love all of these things that you love, if you love this, you will love this as well. And then I watch it and I'm like, fuck, I hated that. What am I getting out of all of these things that then go into whatever it is that I want to make, but it doesn't seem to be the same stuff other people glean from it. Is that the right word? For instance, I got feedback this week on the script, and I'm not fishing for compliments. I will just tell you the feedback was incredibly negative. And it wasn't from anyone. It wasn't from a producer or a casting director or talent. It was just a friend that offered to do what's called coverage, which is just giving notes on a script. And I thought, well, sure, I'm always up for another outside opinion. And they felt like I missed the mark so pointedly. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't get into my head. It actually got into my head in a way that has frustrated some of the people around me, because I think they look at what I'm doing and they're like, you need to just fucking stay the course, dude. And I'm like, yeah, but so-and-so said I missed the mark entirely. Oh God, what have I done? And then all of a sudden you kind of just feel this folding in of your confidence. And it's a weird thing because when you write, you may have a movie in your head. Like when I first thought I'm going to write Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. And, oh yeah, I can see this. I can see people hiding in the walls. I can see ghouls. I can see demons. I can see these bits, these moments, right? And then when you go to write, you're inside and it's like choose your own adventure. And you're like this. And you go through a scene and you get to the end of that scene and you feel the next door, figuratively, open to go to the next scene. And then you say, oh, and I can connect that from fucking this. And then you go into the next scene. And then the next thing you know, you've got a story. And then it's too long and you reshape it. But these kind of like ups and downs that you find as you write are somewhat immovable, because now you've built your structure around what you've carved out. So you can't just say, well, cut this scene. Well, no, because what I have happen in this scene mirrors this scene. This scene is a callback to this. They quote the thing the guy said over here to make fun of him over here. So it's really hard to rewrite once you've done that initial like mapping as it were. You're down in the caves and you're mapping, right? And then you come above ground and you think, this makes sense. I think all of this makes a movie. I think all of this makes an engaging story. I think this is Onyx. I think this is horror comedy. I think this does pay homage to this. And the feedback I got this week was that what I wrote decidedly does not fulfill any of the promises that movies like this set up and fulfill, which is more than just being told your script's too fat or some characters aren't likable enough. Being told you should take this thing down to the studs when you're 4 months out from shooting, you gotta, my personality is you gotta hear it. You gotta go through line by line by line on these notes, whoever they came from. You could throw them out, but you might as well go through line by line and then take it into your little creative crucible and weigh it, balance it, and say, does this actually link to anything I agree with? Does this correct any problems I've actually felt exist in the script? Does this open up opportunities I've actually hoped could open up? And then if it doesn't line up, you gotta throw it out. And then you look like the writer that's ignoring notes. But at some point, it's actually the right thing to do. You go from looking like an amateur because you're ignoring so many notes and looking like a little too full of yourself to there's a certain point where it's irresponsible to take every note. But I will say the notes made me think, did I write something more experimental than I thought? And not to compliment myself. I just mean, I felt like something that what I wrote was really traditional in ways. But isn't that the trick of the artist that is always on the outside of mainstream? I saw this quote from an interview with David Lynch and Patti Smith, and she was like, people have misunderstood me since I started. They thought you really like being outside of the mainstream. You really like making stuff that not a lot of people will be into. And Patti Smith's like, no, that's the trick. Every song I write, I think it's a pop hit. And Lynch said the same. Lynch was like, when I make a movie, I think about all of the people that will love this. I see this universality. And then you look at the finished product and you're like, fuck me. I made Mulholland Drive. You know what I mean? So it's weird. It's a little bit of a mind fuck to think you've shaped this traditional thing that is in the tradition of Fright Night and Ghostbusters and Gremlins. And then all of a sudden, I'm being told I have written something that breaks the contract with the audience and that I'm running the risk of making the audience angry. That's how far off what I've written is from what an audience would want from this subgenre. So fuck it. Hey, what do you do? Stick to your guns, Alan. Alyssa, I've gotten criticism on projects before that threw me for a loop, but after more conversation, it turned out we weren't even speaking the same language. There was some disconnect, I think, on the overall message of the movie. But I like to be self-aware, and I like to be able to look at something and edit. I like to be able to, this is a horrible term, but in screenwriting or editing, kill your babies, and I like to be able to do that. And these notes just didn't align with what I see on the page. This person would say, your script does not have this element A. And then I flip through the script and I just see in bold, element A, element A, element A, element A. And they say, well, your script definitely doesn't have element B. And I'll go, there's element B. Element B, element B. I see it on every page. It's a real trippy thing. Fuck, you've been getting criticism since what? In the first grade was when I did my first play. And I remember somebody saying that the kid that played Winthrop didn't keep his lisp consistent when he sang Gary, Indiana, not Louisiana, Paris, France, New York, or Rome. And I remember in the first grade being like, I fucking dropped the lisp. Got it. I dropped the lisp. Fuck. I dropped the lisp. Performance invalidated. How? You know? So it's not new, but somebody said, was not well. That's the other thing. Rocket Saw, Alyssa. They threw me for a loop. Oh yeah, right. Rocket Saws. Well, so that's the funny thing, that I'm getting this criticism, and to answer ODB, I have gotten, I would say, notes from 7 people on the script. Three are the people that I send every script I write to. No, 4 are the people I send every script I write to, and each of my kind of trusted friends kind of looks out for different things. One person is very logical. They'll say, why did that character do that? And I may not have an answer for them. And I'll realize I have to shore up the emotional logic, you know? One person will say, I don't think the structure pays off what you seed in the beginning of the film. What you seed, you do not sow. You know, everybody's got a different take from my 4 friends that read these scripts. One person is like pure emotional logic. You know, they're like, I want to believe this thing more. I want to believe this person would do this more. But so those 4 people are basically who my scripts go to through every draft. And then there's like 2 more that are kind of, I give it to them once those 4 have helped me kick it into shape. And then those 2 usually are giving me notes like, this could be cut, this could be short, but it moves pretty well, you know. But the biggest thing is through the casting process, the feedback has been so positive. And actors, no, I'm telling you, plot, they know bullshit exposition, they know what they can sell, what they can't sell. And the fact that every actor we've cast, I think, genuinely likes the script, genuinely thinks it's doing something new while still pointing to what came before. Thank you, Darren. That's encouraging because they're the ones in the movie. And if they have faith that they can sell what I need them to sell, and if they have faith that that it makes sense and that it works, then I think that's more important than this big takedown that I received this week. And somebody asked, had I gotten criticism like that before? No, I haven't gotten criticism on the script that was that damning. And when I say damning, I mean, if you listen to that criticism, it would be a page 1 rewrite. Page 1 rewrite. Well, Thomas, thank you. It is almost the script from the live read, but it's better. I'm telling you, when I think about what we did at the live read, I have changed so much, but it is still that shape. It is still that structure. It's just really dialed in. I also think, and this is something I just have to come to terms with, I am possibly interested in character and world building to a fault, asterisk. Some may see it as a fault. So I specifically want to make a Fright Night or a Gremlins or a Ghostbusters. Yeah, that has 30 pages of character development. You know what? But that's the statement, is like, can we take the concepts from films like this, but can we fucking juice them full of emotional realism and a grounding reality before we launch them into the absurdity? Will that work? That is the experiment. And it is an experiment because even the films I love don't have as much character juice as I want. And I have to understand that doesn't matter for a lot of people. The fact that I want every fucking character to feel like somebody that's been lived in, that has worth, whose death would matter, whose goals matter, that takes up a lot of space. I think it's worthwhile space because I think then when the stakes are raised, all of these people are people you don't want to see die, right? But it's a gamble. It's a gamble. A lot of people would just be like, turn it and burn it, my guy. But the interesting thing is, as much as I wrote this script, and I don't mean this to sound super, I don't know what the word is, heady, I feel like Onyx wrote the script. What I mean by that is, I know his voice and I know what works in his world so well by now that he was my little canary in the coal mine wouldn't be the right analogy, but he's who I sent down into the tunnels. You know what I mean? And you send Onyx into these scenes, and his personality is what opens up the next steps. Let me give you an example of that. Onyx witnesses Jesminder or Angelique killed by Bartok. Spoiler alert. Okay? He immediately runs into Mr. Duke and Mac's room and is nervous and is clearly burdened by something. And Mac says, Onyx, what's wrong? And Onyx goes, oh, yeah, no, it's just from before I was trapped in this painting, and I saw Bartok, and he started to get intimate with Jesminder, which is fine, but I don't know. And as he's trying to get this out, Mac says, Onyx, just say it. What happened? And then finally, Onyx says, he stabbed her until she was dead. In that moment, Mac and Mr. Duke believe Onyx. They believe him. In any other horror film, in that moment, you would have what's called interpersonal conflict. Someone in that group would not believe Onyx. Mr. Duke, arguably, should say, Onyx, I don't think you saw what you think you saw. And then Onyx would be like, but I did. I swear to God. And then Mr. Duke would be like, I can't do this right now. I've got to sit down and work on transposing this page. And Mac would be like, kind of believing Onyx, but understand that he's also a little eccentric and over the top. And so they would kind of bury that. And then that character, me, Onyx, has to go, why don't you believe me? Why doesn't anyone believe me? And then he's stuck being gaslit, which is what everybody else does in his life, which is what Bartok does at the mansion. I don't want his friends to do that. Not fun. And it doesn't yield comedy. If anything, I feel stifled by that. In the middle of every Judd Apatow movie, Jonah Hill and Michael Cera yell at each other for 30 minutes. Why? Why? Why are we sitting through this fake conflict? It's false. It's almost always disingenuous. It's almost always the writer looking to the left of their laptop and seeing a list and checking those boxes. Inner conflict? Yeah, got that. Interpersonal conflict? Got that. Outer world conflict? Got that. What about the reality of your story? What about believing the reality first? And in the reality of that story, Mr. Duke believes Onyx. What's more exciting as an audience member? What's more exciting? Fuck, he believed him. We're fucking, all right, we're cooking with gas now. No more of that stutter stop that all of these horror movies put us through. Why? Why do it? We all know it's not real. We're waiting for Jonah Hill and Michael Cera to kiss and make up. We're waiting for Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd to get back on the same page. It's exhausting. And it's not as fundamental as people think. People think it's fundamental to story. It's not fundamental. None of these rules are fundamental. Back to my initial point, what yields more comedy in that moment? Mr. Duke being so excited by what Onyx has witnessed. He could possibly be getting more knowledge. And he says, Onyx, did he say anything while he murdered her? And Onyx says, oh, yeah, he spoke a prayer. What was the prayer? What was the prayer? Oh, it was doo-doo, da-da, dee-dee, Scooby-Doo, yabba, dabba-doo. Now, if Mr. Duke doesn't believe Onyx saw what he says he saw, you wouldn't get the fun of Mr. Duke getting this horribly shitty information out of Onyx. That's the joke. That's the comedy, is Mr. Duke thinking he's going to get new nuggets of info, but this dum-dum can only remember yabba dabba doo, Scooby-Doo? Oh, fuck. That's the funny, right? And ultimately, you have to follow the funny if you're following Onyx. You wouldn't get Onyx then drawing the dagger and it looking like a wiener with the soul goo coming out, right? If everybody in that moment didn't believe him. So you'd be doing the screenwriter thing, and you'd be sending the character back down to the doldrums to be like, I guess nobody believes me, even here at the mansion. No, going to the mansion is supposed to be a step away from his former life. And he's never going back to that life. He's never going back to the meat hut. He's never going back to Masha, and he's never going back to Todd and Nancy, at least not as Marcus. He will have them come to him once he is Onyx and the boss that he should be, but he's never going back to what he was before. Okay? That's one example of me kind of processing these notes. You could still argue that there's not enough interpersonal conflict just because I cited one example that I personally think I know my way around organically in a way that serves the story. That doesn't mean this guy's wrong. I'm just using it as one example. One of the things I really admire about the original Dawn of the Dead is that the majority of the protagonists don't take unnecessary risks. A pleasant contrast. You are so right. That movie, and there's another one that I watched recently that did something similar. The Entity. So there's conflict all over Dawn of the Dead, and there's conflict all over The Entity. But right, it's not the predictable. Sometimes I think screenwriting 101, it takes this external exoskeleton and then shoves it down onto your gooey, organic story. And it says, fit it into this mold. And you're like, but I've got this fucking stuff worked out that actually takes a weird kind of gooey shape. And then you put that exoskeleton down on it. And it's like, fuck, now it's a story, right? Huh? This happens by page 30. This happens by page 50. I can track the desire line throughout the whole thing. Our villain does this. Our hero does that. These people infight until they get to the same page by the end of it. When what's really thrilling, especially in genre, is when you watch characters make the right decision because the story is actually outside of all that writery bullshit. What's happening to them is actually not beholden to the rules. That's the external. They're actually inside of something and it feels real. And when they make decisions that are based in logic and when things don't seem to follow the rules, even the screenwriting rules, I'm excited. All of the sudden, I mean, in The Entity, you could argue that her psychiatrist doesn't believe her, but that's not the energy he puts out. When she first, spoiler alert, when Barbara Hershey goes to Ron Silver and she says, I've been experiencing this, and it's something unbelievable, he doesn't shut the door on her. He sits there and says, okay. Do these attacks come after a heightened emotional experience, a fight, or something that gets your adrenaline running? Like there's this exchange that's like, he kind of believes her. Or he sees her enough as a human to take her seriously because these aren't characters in a movie. They actually wrote them like real people, you know? I mean, the kind of decisions they make in Poltergeist. Everyone's kind of on the same page for most of that movie. Something feels so genuine about films like that. They respect their characters to not put them into boxes. Okay, you're the guy that's going to be an asshole. You're the guy that's not supposed to be at Bartok's mansion, and the whole time you're putting down Onyx and his friends. Fuck off. That guy wouldn't be invited. It's not logical that that guy would be invited, right? You have to serve the reality of the story first. Rules can come a lot later. If you've written the worst screenplay of all time, you should listen to those rules. But if you've really listened to the heartbeat of your story and respected your characters and their logic and their interior life, then you're going to get a movie that works. You will. And I'm saying this for myself, mostly, because this whole week I thought, did I write a movie that doesn't work? And then I revisited it and revisited it. I mean, I've read the script 70 times now. I read that guy's notes probably 10 times. And none of it gelled with what seemingly I want to do with this story and what seemingly I discovered as I wrote it. For better or for worse, this movie is going to be a display of my instincts. And for better, hopefully, but possibly for worse, because the world has its own plan. I love The Gate. I love The Gate. So one of the things I was going to say though was that it's funny to be getting these notes and going through this process while I'm listening to the George Lucas book, because it's very dangerous, because he's somebody who everybody doubted, who everybody poo-pooed, even on the set. Most of you probably know the stories. He was told, this isn't filmmaking. I mean, people were saying practically to his face, George, you don't know what you're doing. So it's funny to be listening to that, because that'll get in your head in the other direction. That'll make anyone working on any project think, I guess I'm a misunderstood genius. Fuck. Well, I guess I better listen to my gut, like George Lucas. When the truth is, it's rare that any of us create something that works on the level that he created. But it's just so funny. My therapist talks about the fact that I'm either idealized or deprived. It's either I'm George Lucas or I'm trash. And she's working with me on, like, what about just being human? You know, what if you could just kind of be right down the middle, human, kind of imperfect, kind of mess up sometimes, but kind of try to do good stuff too. What if you just aim for that instead of like, I'm George Lucas, I'm fucking shit. So anyway, no, I don't think George Lucas is a hack. You can't view it simply as the Lucas that we know now. You gotta, I'm telling you, this book, I mean, the stuff they uncover, the stuff that he went through. And yes, Marcia saved that movie. John Williams saved that movie, but it wasn't like, and not George Lucas. George Lucas saved that movie. Marshall Lucas saved that movie. They all say, everybody that worked on that movie saved that movie. The actors changing their dialogue saved that movie. The sound designer saved that movie. You know what I mean? Star Wars is what it was because all of those artists and technicians helped make it work. I feel like I skipped over a really good question. Well, yeah, talking about Lucas's instincts later, you know, that's a different story. That's a different story. I'm just talking about A New Hope. You know, cuffs. I have a really weird story about cuffs. And thank you, Greg Greason. Thank you, Greg. I have a really funny story about cuffs. My sister was 7 years older than me, still is. And that's how I would see all these movies. Like her and her boyfriend and her friends, they'd watch stuff like Cuffs or Heathers or Top Gun or Dirty Dancing. And I'd often try to kind of be in the room, but it would always be like, Andy, you know, leave us alone. We're teens hanging out, watching more adult stuff. But so then I would stand on the steps and like watch from behind the wall. And I remember seeing Roadhouse that way. And I was like, oh, when they were doing the, you know, striptease. Dirty Dancing, I remember just being like, oh God, don't know who I love more, Jennifer Grey or Patrick Swayze in that movie. Maybe it's Jerry Orbach. Cuffs. I remember I've seen Cuffs once, and it was when I was whatever age this was, when it first came out on video and my sister rented it. And yet I remember him saying the line, love and kisses on all your pink parts. And I remember as a kid being like, the fuck does that mean? Pink parts? Just didn't know, but knew it was something I didn't know, and knew it was something that I maybe shouldn't know yet, but wanted to know. So wild. So wild. Yeah. Love and kisses on all your pink parts. But the other great thing about Cuffs, which is obviously now infamous because I love it when shit like that goes viral now. The guy, you know, who lifts up his hands and goes at the door. Fuck. I mean, Cuffs is good. Cuffs is good. A funny Christian Slater story that is not my own. Maybe people know this, but when Peter Berg was trying to get, oh, come on. What's the Peter Berg directed movie with all the guys and they kill someone, Very Bad Things, off the ground? Slater signing on is what got it greenlit. And Berg and Slater go out and party to celebrate. and they're supposed to like start shooting the next day or 2 days later or something like that. And Slater was like, let's go Rage, dude. I signed on. I'm getting your movie made. I'm getting you that budget that you need. My name alone is getting that movie going. And Berg's like, yeah, let's fucking rip. I'm a party hound too. But around 4 a.m., Slater's still raging. And Berg is like, my guy, I gotta go. I gotta start shooting tomorrow. You should turn in. And Slater's like, I'm good, dude. I'm gonna stay out. But good on you, man. I'm gonna keep raging, snorting, shooting, drinking, whatever. Berg goes home. He wakes up to like 70 missed calls on his landline and voicemail after voicemail from his agent saying, fucking pick up, fucking call me back, fucking pick up. Berg calls his agent back and he's like, what's up? What's up? Sorry. I was out late. What's going on? And he was like, have you seen the fucking news? Turn on your television. He turns on the TV. Christian Slater arrested, gets into fight with LAPD officer. Woo! And Berg is like, blacking out from the stress, realizing he's sunk. But he hears from Christian Slater, and I don't know if it's like through Christian Slater's reps. I doubt Berg was one of Slater's calls from jail. But basically, and he's told, don't worry, Christian's getting out. He's still doing the movie. It's just going to delay you by 4 days, 5 days. Please know this is still happening. And sure enough, probably for unethical reasons, be it systemic privilege or money, which is systemic privilege, Christian Slater gets out and is able to do very bad things. Why did I spend 15 minutes talking about Christian Slater and Peter Berg? It's also because, and let's shift into something a little more positive. I watched In Search of Darkness 2 on Shudder, which it's a documentary, less a documentary and more just a kind of a string out of people talking about 80s movies. Von Sweets, are you asking if I like Garbage Pail Kids? Here, let me see if I can answer that question for you. Do I like Garbage Pail Kids? Let's take a look at the beefy bad boy design. We looked at this last week, but by Nate Maldonado, right? And here's his current head sculpt by Adam Doherty of Creature Kid. Come on, focus. Look at that. Ooh. So when he comes out of the fryer in the nightmare sequence, he's all like this in his gross crackled ground beef face. And then there's a second head when he goes like full demonic and stabs Onyx and says, when in doubt, skewer it out. Stabs Onyx. I know, dude, Nate, that sculpt. Well, so technically, Greg Gotti, that is his first evil look. And then he's got a heightened evil look. In the nightmare scene, he never looks happy. He never looks like the clean mascot. The nightmare only has the evil and evil-er versions of him. So, In Search of Darkness and In Search of Darkness 2, if you have Shudder, they're really great. They're like 4 hours long each, and you just put it on, and it's everybody from the 80s horror films I love, talking about 80s horror. It's a fucking blast. And there's a great segment on Shocker where they talk about Mitch Pileggi and how wild it is that he played this demonic, evil, electric killer and then, was Skinner on X-Files. Wouldn't that be the dream? You make the Onyx movie and then you get a little beefy bad boy short film and like a little beefy bad boy web series. Oh, yeah, Greg, no, that's the evil version. There's no real sculpt of the happy version. He only appears in the branding of the restaurant and the menus and stuff like that, and Onyx's hat and blah, blah, blah. Once he's in the nightmare and he's coming out of the fryer, he's the beefy bad boy. But that leads me to, so these are my recommends. I guess now I'm doing recommends for the week, right? In Search of Darkness and In Search of Darkness 2 on Shudder. Great info. It's really great because it brings up movies that you haven't seen, Oh, The Hidden. I think they do mention The Hidden in Search of Darkness 1. I've never seen Cellar Dweller. And then I watched In Search of Darkness 2, and I thought, I've got to watch Cellar Dweller. I mean, Jeffrey Combs is in it. It's written by Don Mancini. What are we doing? Right? What are we doing? Okay. The other thing I watched was Fear Street 1994. Let's get the jealousies out of the way. I am so jealous of what this filmmaker accomplished, just being able to make a trilogy, direct each entry, and each one is a different era, a different period piece. What a fucking dream. Jealousies aside, though, because this is a really talented director, the director behind Homecoming. Is that what it's called? No, hold on. What's it called? Maybe that is what it's called. I always get Spring confused with this film. And this film is Honeymoon, not Homecoming. My God. So the director of Honeymoon, I thought Fear Street was a real fun ride. Okay? There. They, too, were concerned with giving their characters a fair amount of logic. They also did a lot of foreshadowing and paying off, a lot of seeding and sowing and reaping. I just really liked it. I just liked watching it, you know? It didn't get bogged down by a lot of the things. I mean, yes, there was a lot of interpersonal conflict, but it didn't get bogged down by a lot of things I feel like modern horror movies get bogged down by. It didn't feel tedious, and it didn't feel like there were a lot of stutter stops, right? One thing I hate about a lot of movies is they ultimately become about one. This is a weird criticism, ready? But, you know, it's like how Wreck-It Ralph is pretty much just the Candyland stuff. Like they should have just called it Candyland. You know, like they sold us this movie that's like, he goes into all these video games, just Candyland. Most of it's the Candyland thing with the race. They got to get the car back, Candyland. But I like movies that move through different set pieces quickly. And that's something I felt Fear Street did really well. It was like, this is this set piece, get through what we need to get through, and then let's move them into a different space. Let's move them into a different space. And, you know, there were certain things predictable. Yes, but that's one of the things that I was accused of in my script. It was that like some of these things were predictable, and not everything is meant to be a surprise. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think, like there's so many of my, I don't know, there's so many of my favorite movies where red herrings and misdirects aren't always what a story needs. Maybe they're what mysteries need, but I don't know. I enjoyed that it was a pretty straight shot, and I enjoyed that they all pretty much got along, and we're all like, let's fucking do this. Let's fucking do what needs to be done. You know, I won't give any spoilers. When you're talking about Mother, are you talking about Aronofsky or are you talking about Bong Joon-ho? Because I don't love Aronofsky movies, so I don't really see them all. Yeah, like burying the lead sometimes, I find, and it might be a personality thing, it makes me feel really agitated, and it makes me feel like I'm being talked down to. But then the other risk is, well, the audience gets ahead of you. But the audience getting ahead of you, I don't know if that matters in a movie that's supposed to be more of a ride, right? Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't like Greasy Strangler, and I didn't like Psycho Gorman. I'm just going through what you've been throwing out there, Strider. Sorry. So I liked Fear Street. Point is, I wanted to watch it tonight. I wanted to watch the new one tonight. But the friends that I watch movies with on Fridays don't want to watch it. So I'm not watching it. I'll watch it tomorrow, I guess. Any casting updates? Okay, Hunter, I think we're in the same spot we were in last week. Let me say this. I think I said this last week. We've cast everybody except for Mr. Duke. And the thing is, we were waiting on a response from a bigger ask for Mr. Duke, and we have not heard back. So I think we're moving on Monday. It's hard because this person hasn't said no, but there's just been no response. And it just feels like if there were interest, we'd have heard something from the agent. You know, they'd at least ask for more time. They'd say so-and-so is interested, but he needs more time to review. But we're not even getting that. So I think we consider that a pass. And on Monday, we have to lock Mr. Duke next week because the ghouls are sculpted to look like these actors. Shelley, Mr. Duke, Mac, and Angelique all turn into ghouls. So it's really important that in July, we get these people cast. I have faith we'll get our Mr. Duke next week. Another update I also have, I don't know if I said this last week, but we did have a pass from a larger name for Bartok. And oh, Brian, thank you. Yeah, I should very much put this on the Kickstarter update. Yeah. We got a pass from a big name for Bartok. But it's so hard to decide how much I want to talk about this because it's other people's business now. You know what I mean? Because I love how much all of you want to support the film, but I don't want anybody tweeting at these people and saying, you know, fuck you for not being in Bowser's movie. So everybody just chill. But yes, got a couple passes, but I feel really good about who we do have lined up. And the truth is, my Mr. Duke selections, the number one select, I mean, he would be fantastic. But the number two select might even be better than number one. And then the truth is, there's part of me that actually likes the number three better than number one and two. Nicolas Cage is not available. Nicolas Cage was not available. Some other Mr. Dukes that weren't available. Keith David's not available, booked on Broadway. I could just like read the list of who wasn't available. But not being available, you know, is different from passing. A lot of people just like weren't available. I mean, things are back in the swing of it. You know what I mean? And then, yes, I would say, Bernard, when you get to know who is playing who, when these contracts are signed, when we have deal memos in place for these actors, and, you know, the hope is that we get a proper press release. You know, I don't know if all of you follow Deadline or any Twitter accounts that post press releases, but like, the funny thing is, I tried to get a few publicists to make a press release about Josh. The poster will be signed by me. I could wait to send the posters out and wait till we're filming and get the cast to sign them. That's true. I tried to get publicists to release a press release about the Kickstarter being successful. I was like, can you put a press release out that says indie filmmaker raises $500,000 from his garage, right? Like viral internet character turns into pandemic feature startup, right? Like, I was like, that makes sense, right? That's news. I mean, as much as anything in Hollywood is news. And everyone said, fuck off. It's okay. But the funny thing is, I screenshot press releases that have no right to exist. I screenshot this Deadline article the other day that was about two children starring in like a indie film about a Christian lizard that teaches them about God. You know what I mean? And I screenshot it and I was like, send it to my producers. I was like, this gets on Deadline now? This gets on Deadline now? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's all grist for the mill. It's all fuel for the fire. But once we get the cast locked, we should have a proper press release sent out that is my little face, all of the other actors, that says I am writing and directing a horror comedy feature, Onyx and Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, starring these people, and we're filming in October, and it's from these companies, Fortuitous Films and ya boy. And, you know, maybe even that press release alone would get me an agent. You know? I can have the whole cast sign the posters then. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's just hard to decide, you know, when to get this stuff shipped out. Because if you're waiting on the cast's signature, a lot of people get posters. So you might just want to like wait, and you know, then I'd be pushing at most rewards till after the feature. I don't know. But the truth is, a lot of the rewards have to come out of the making of the movie, you know? Any other questions? Thanks for showing up. I've been thinking, I'm the guy that, you know, a year and a half ago, I was like, guess what, y'all? I'm not a YouTuber. So fuck off. I'm never going to be a YouTuber. But then I lost my job at Nerdist and have been making my own content. Part of me is thinking of like, just, I don't know if I can keep up with what I was doing during the Kickstarter, but part of me wonders if instead of, you know, getting more freelance producing jobs between now and the movie, should I just focus on more YouTube content, more TikToks, more consistency? It doesn't bring in a lot of money like the Google ad revenue, but I wonder if it would keep me afloat between now and making the movie. And it would basically, like, you know, would I almost go back to like that kind of schedule that I had for the Kickstarter, where I just try to get up content like almost every day? I don't know. That's the question. I could probably do a lot more like behind the scenes-y stuff, talking about the incremental updates. Like I've got ideas, but I just don't have the time. But some of the ideas I definitely don't have as many internet-y ideas as I used to. Like I had an idea that I want to shoot next week. That's like just Onyx singing a song about how he wants to fuck Alf. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe I'll shoot that. But will that do well? Who knows? Am I thinking like I'm winning? I think I am. Come Friday, come today. I think this week I was kind of thinking like I was losing, but I think something clicked over, and I think I'm thinking like I'm winning. Okay, so I should have. Oh yeah, speaking of, I want to fuck Alf. Hold on. Ah. When I get an idea, I'm immediately like, oh, well, I guess I should buy a bunch of Alf stuff. What if I don't even shoot this thing? No, the truth is, buying this will make me shoot the video for I Want to Fuck Alf. I want to fuck Alf. But only if he wants me to. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, this is a legit Alf from '86, and it's in good shape. My friend Alex had this, and it's legitimately from '86, and this is in good shape. Anyway, okay. Thank you all so much. I will have more updates next week. Hopefully we'll lock into Mr. Duke, and I'll see even more creature stuff, and we'll keep on ripping and dipping into the new year. What? Now I'm going to put Alf right there. I wonder if Alf will scare Gremmy Boy, or if Gremmy Boy will be friends with Alf. That's the question. Alf Fleshlight? Oh, God. I don't think it was going to be that hardcore of a video. No, that's not the Alf that's like Teddy Ruxpin. And it's not the puppet either. It's just the stuffed animal. All right, cool. I was trying to push it to an hour. I got 30 seconds left, 20 seconds left before it's at an hour. watch Fear Street 76, 77, 78. I forget, but watch the new Fear Street. It'll probably be fun. I've heard it's actually a really good take. No, Matthew, I haven't had the tombstones made yet. That might be done in post, but I have selected which tombstones are featured in the shots because I've already sent the location scout photos to the cemetery and I've shown them where we're going to film. And I picked out the like 6 or 7 or whatever, however many tombstones we need. Okay, I guess that's it. I'll talk to everybody soon, and thank you all for showing up. Thank you so much.